Players.
Players own.
Players own.
Players own voice.
Players own voice.
It's Players Own Voice, a podcast from CBC Sports. There's a $10 word for everything nowadays, and I gotta be honest, I had to Google this, but nominative determinism is a beauty example. That's the actual term for all the people whose lives seem to match their names. So, Dr. Fang the dentist, Miss Pie the baker, Johnny Boozer, you get the idea. Today I'm chatting to a prime example. He's a rodeo ace who managed to win $1 million in just one day. So of course his real name is Richie Champion. Richie, Richmond. He's also a smart businessman, an honest-to-goodness cowboy, full beauty, and just about everyone's favorite Texan. Let's go. Here goes nothing, buddy. You ready?
I'm in.
Richmond Champion, that is that's your true name. That's not like a first pet and the street that you grew up on name, if you catch my drift. One of the most humble, charming cowboys, bareback champion. It's been a minute, man. I haven't seen you for a little bit. What have you been doing?
Just living life. Really, it's after last year, just kind of enjoyed the winter, and it's a nice spring back home right now. So it is nice to come back to Canada and get called a beauty.
And when you say last year, you're talking about the NFR, the National Finals Rodeo. You came second in the world. I think it's kind of weird that you guys are ranked in the world based upon the money that you make. Have you ever noticed? I would be 3 billionth in the world if I was ranked by the money I make.
It's an odd thing that our sport is ranked by dollars earned, and it's kind of weird to be at the grocery store and somebody knows how much money you've won.
Yeah, bud. can I borrow $20?
Exactly. No privacy.
Okay, let's back it up a little bit. I mean, I'm a kid from Calgary, born and raised, grew up with the Calgary Stampede, but how, and don't take offense to this, how in the hell do you get involved in rodeo? How do you sign up for that?
That's a great question. I guess you come from playing sports, any sport when you're a kid, and you like the competition aspect, and having an older brother, I was always competitive. And whenever I moved from Alaska, I was 8 and moved to Texas, so skiing was out, and I had to find something new. I played baseball, stuff like that, but got into horses. I wanted to ride horses, and I did that. Done that ever since. When I was 13, I had the opportunity to get on a bull, and that was my goal then. I was going to ride bulls and be a world champion, and that was a lie. Because I was terrible. But it's one of those things, looking back, I don't regret it at all. I learned a lot in it. I think it helped me progress when I finally decided to go ahead and give bareback riding a chance. Because when bull riders and horse riders, bull riders are scared of the horses, horse riders are scared of the bulls, and that's kind of just most of the time the way it is. But I'd been on horses all my life up until that point, so why not? Why wouldn't I put the two together?
Well, let's just touch on a little factor in here. You're allergic to horses, so what? You're just high on a leave all the time. That's why you're infallible. You just have no fear.
I should be sponsored by Claritin.
What a plug! What a plug! Okay, so what? That was in and around high school then.
Yeah. So my senior year, summer before my senior year, I decided to get on a bareback horse, and it took like wildfire. I think I got on 4 more bulls after that. And it was immediate in my mind. If I got hurt riding bulls and I couldn't get on a bareback horse, even that early, I'd have never forgave myself. So it was pretty easy to jump ship on the old bull riding and leave it to somebody else. So.
Yeah, that feels a little bit like fate, I guess. March 2014. You qualified for a little rodeo called the American Inaugural Rodeo. What happened?
That year... So January, February, it was kind of my junior season, I guess, my 3rd year, kind of out on the road, and I was having a great winter. I'd won more money than I'd ever won, and that was kind of my goal was, okay, I got a chance to make the NFR here. Mm-hmm. And the Americans started seeing commercials and things like that for it, stuff on social media, and nobody kind of knew what to think of it. So rodeo is going to pay $1 million. That's never happened. It's going to be at AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play. Top 5 qualifiers get to go against the top 10 in the world. And how do you start to look into how you get there, and you have to go through a qualifying system. Well, I was in college, and conveniently all the qualifiers fell over class time, so I went. And it worked out. I ended up making it my first try at the qualifier, so I went to the semifinals, ended up winning that, and then all of a sudden, this little get-out-of-school-free card I was playing turned into the real thing. I was going to the American, and I just remember being there, and it was obviously the biggest stage. I had a red carpet deal the night before, and I'm 21 years old.
Yeah, I mean, you're 25 now, and you're still not that cool. So at 21, I can't imagine.
Exactly. It was, blew my mind, and I was in it for the experience, and that was all I wanted to do. No matter how, I didn't have $1 million when I showed up. My life was pretty good. It wasn't going to change if I had it when I left. So I just went and, soaked it all up, and that day was just, you mentioned fate earlier, and I don't, looking back on all the little things that happened to actually end up winning that 1.1 million in one day, it still gives me goosebumps to think about it.
Yeah, it gives me goosebumps too. I'm just wondering if you want to go on a date.
Of course. Run it by Paige first.
Oh, nope. You've spoken candidly about, every penny you make is reinvested in rodeo. What does that entail? I mean, what does your day look like?
If you want to be competing, I don't think there's a weekend that there's not a rodeo to go to. As I've gotten a little wiser in my career, I've learned that I don't have to go to every one of them to make a living. So you're constantly reinvesting your money, and there's situations throughout the year where you'll be in a tight spot to make the finals, and you've got to win. We'll say dollars since that's what it's in. You got to win $800 to be in the top 15, and it's $15,000 to get a charter plane to get that $800. Mm-hmm. We won't even bat an eye to spending that kind of money to get that $800 if it guarantees us a spot at the finals, because it pays so much.
And the finals are the NFR. It's essentially the Super Bowl for the rodeo in Vegas in December.
National Finals Rodeo. It's 10 rounds. Pays about $30,000 a night to win first, and I think right around $70,000 to win the average. So it's life-changing money. It's really, that's how you make a living at this sport, is you get there and you perform at the top. That's what the top has done, and that's why the sport keeps growing. Is sponsors are getting bigger. There's more money in it, and it makes you work a whole lot harder to get there.
This is your livelihood. This is how you make a paycheck. And seeing success at a young age, what pressure does that put on you?
It put a lot of pressure immediately. Unneeded pressure, I think. It was mostly put on by myself. I showed up to that rodeo just a kid, and when I left, I went straight to Houston, and there was people waiting in the parking lot to talk to me before I went into the rodeo. I'd seen the top guys in the sport that are, world champions and multi-NFR qualifiers. They're getting the interviews. They're doing radio. You always see it, and as a kid, you're wondering, how do you get there? Well, all the things I dreamed about happened the next day. Like, all of a sudden, I went from kind of a quiet guy coming up, just wanted to ride bareback horses, to, okay, this is my job now. I'm no longer that, and I put pressure on myself because I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. I wanted to go be consistent and make the NFR and win a world championship, and I think the pressure was, okay, now I got to live up to an expectation that I don't think is, I don't know if it was real or not real, but it was apparent to me that things I wanted to do, I wasn't going to let that day define me so much as be a major part in my career. But I didn't want to be known as just the American winner. I want to be a great cowboy and a world champion, and I think those are the pressures I put on myself now, instead of in the arena so much as just, am I doing the best by me and everybody around me?
back injury in 2015, severely hurt your knee last spring. You fell from third in the world to 23rd. I mean, your ego must get in the way with that. Like, what do you do? What do you do to find that focus to get back on the top of your game? Because you're on fire right now. What did you do?
That's kind of, I don't know. It's like an internal feeling. It's like it's almost like when you're playing cards and you know you're going to get the right card before it happens. Somehow, you don't know how you got to that state of mind, but like all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, it's coming. And boom, there it is. And you can call it out. And I think it just took really going back and focusing on the basics, putting the time in the gym, and getting my body back to where I was so consistent with my mind and body that I knew down deep I'd already put the work in. Nothing else was going to change. Like, everybody's getting on a bucking horse. It doesn't matter what anybody else did, because I know what I do in the weeks, leading up to an event, or days or minutes, however it works, and just finding that consistency. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. If I can duplicate everything over and over again, then I'm in that frame of mind to go win every time.
Aside from switching a light beer, what does the training of a rodeo star look like?
It's an evolving thing. Rodeo is just kind of coming into its own now as a sport, and I think it's a long way from where it's headed. It's really to that point of guys are starting to pay attention to diet, exercise, things like that. And I had gone from kind of a CrossFit type workout, body weight, circuit work like that, and it was good, but I wanted more in the sense of more sport specific. Somebody that knows what the body needs. It really doesn't matter as long as you understand what muscles get used when you're riding. But I needed to be I need to be strong all the way around, well-rounded, and that was my biggest shift. Last October, I started working with Leanne Gullett, and she started me off really slow, and it was kind of, you go from going 100 miles an hour in the gym to just slowing down and paying attention to your movements and making good movement and becoming an athlete, like physically just paying attention to what your body's doing, listening to it, worrying more about form than weight and things like that. And now to the point that I don't do an exercise without a weighted vest. Thanks a lot, Leanne.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Leanne.
But
see you never.
Yeah. Find somebody for that next month's exercise. But no, it's been awesome, and I feel like that's where my edge is this year, and the reason I had so much success at the end of last year. From skating, when you're on that, you can't do wrong. No. Like it doesn't matter. You put the work in, you feel good. There's nothing that's gonna get in your way, and nothing does.
Yeah, white spots.
Exactly. And then you look back, people will bring up, oh, but remember that race that went badly, and you're like, no. Like, I mean, yeah, but not really. I gotta remember details because you're not thinking about them. You're looking forward, and of course you're gonna have bad days. I have hundreds of bad rides that I could probably have video of that I don't remember them. I don't remember the details from that. I remember the good.
Yeah.
And that's the
universal.
best.
Yeah, universal truth. What's crazy is that there's also the physiology and physicality of the horse and the luck of the draw. I mean, kind of segueing from that, obviously rodeo in a lot of circles is a little bit controversial. I mean, you have organizations that pair it with animal abuse. What is your, not rebuttal, I mean, I don't think anyone wants to debate it, but what would you say to people that believe that and protest?
Yeah, and I think everybody is allowed to have their own opinion and their own beliefs, and a lot of it is education. The more educated somebody is about anything, I'm not going to argue politics with you because it's not my thing. I don't understand it, so I'm not going to go as far as to say that I do. These animals, I can tell you firsthand, are so immaculately taken care of. And there's veterinarians on staff constantly everywhere we go. They have to be in order for us to have the rodeo. There has to be somebody there that can take care of if anything happens. And like I said, people will say what they want to say. I know if I was doing something that was to hurt something other than put myself at risk, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how we all feel. We love horses. We love cattle. That's been the cowboy way since. That's why God put cowboys on earth, was to take care of cows and horses. So like I said, I think it's a lack of information, and there's tons of information out there that you can look up and really investigate how these animals are treated. They get more sleep and more food than I do most of the time. So,
where do you see rodeo going?
Oh, straight to the top.
All the way up.
All the way up. Yeah. No, it's evolved so much. There's been a lot of things. A lot of things have been tried. First, they went to, they have certain shootout scenarios where on any given day, a guy can show up if he gets qualified, can go and win $12,000, $25,000 in just a day. It doesn't count towards the world standings, but it's just an extra opportunity. And with more sponsors getting involved, you have more of those. But I see rodeo finding a true structure, a true season, a televised format where the fans can watch my entire season. Because they'll see me at Calgary, they'll see me at Houston, they'll see me, small town rodeos, they'll see me at the NFR. But the thing about the NFR is somebody watches that, they go, oh, okay, so this is the World Series. How did they get here? Why are these the guys? Yeah. And it's a really hard thing to do. It's impossible to, unless you're going online and looking at the standings, which you can at prorodeo.com. But but it's I see it getting into that format where the top guys, there'll be a qualifying system where you have some lower level events, work your way up, and then when you're on the televised tour, you're followed, and I think it'll quickly steer away from the dollars earned as points. I think it'll go to a point system, and that there's enough success through the Western industry, Western sports, that I don't think it'll take very long once they get, kind of get their feet in the right direction.
Where do you see yourself going?
Straight to the top.
All the way up. Point them up.
I was actually talking to my fiance Paige about it, and
she's the worst.
She is. She's asked me how long I want to do this for, and not putting pressure, just out of curiosity. And it's kind of weird to be 25 and looking into the second half of my career already. I've been doing this since I was 18, and I just want to go for the next 5-7 years, however long I can go, and be competitive and have that feeling of, if I think it's going to happen. If I work hard enough, I'm going to make this happen. The second I lose that or don't want to go through what it takes to have that, the sport doesn't owe me anything, and I don't know it. It's been great to me, and I want to better it in these next 7 years, and obviously continue to keep bettering myself.
I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I seem to be a good luck charm with you, bud. I can't wait to go down to Texas, bud, because every time I'm around you, I got that accent.
It's been waiting.
It's been waiting.
It's been waiting for you.
Thank you so much for joining me, Richmond Champion. That is not a fake name.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, buddy. That was rodeo star Richmond Champion. 2018 was good to Richie. He rode himself into bareback victory for the second year in a row at the Calgary Stampede. Please email your comments to us, playersownvoicepodcast@cbc.ca. Social media, #PlayersOwnVoice. I am Anna Stasher on Twitter and Instagram. Players Own Voice Podcast is a CBC Sports production. Ken Wolf is the executive. David Giddens is the producer. Thanks for listening.